Welcome to the Geek Homeworld. I am your host, SavageTechman. We talk sci-fi, TV, movies, superheroes, and all from a geek perspective. You can find us on Blogger, Google+, Twitter, Facebook. We're everywhere. Join the Geek Homeworld. Welcome to another episode of the Geek Homeworld podcast. I am your host, SavageTechman, aka Ed, and Cheryl is joining me once again. Hello.
Woohoo!
What are we talking about today?
What we talking about, Willis? Well, as promised in previous episodes, I have just finished binge watching Deep Space Nine.
And I
guess that's technically Star Trek, Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's right. I finally watched it myself and watched the whole series again, but it was nice rewatching it. I have a greater respect for it.
I do too, as a matter of fact.
A little farther down.
I like it better now than I did in first run, 20 years ago. It was too dark 20 years ago for me.
Yeah, and I like Sisko better.
Yeah.
But he's still not my favorite captain.
Oh, he's definitely not my favorite captain. In fact, he's probably still my least favorite captain of the series. What's the plural of series? Series.
Are you so serious?
Seriously? No. So.
Why so serious?
So I do want to say though, as much as I enjoyed watching it now, there are a few things that irritate me, and I'm going to start with the last thing.
Let's get the irritation out of the way.
Let's talk about what irritates me, and then I'm going to talk about some of my favorite characters, because I think this has some of the best guest characters or recurring characters rather than the feature characters. I'm not actually a fan of very many of the feature characters in this series. You know, Sisko being the lead character, but I really am irritated by the romance between Dr. Bashir and Ezri Dax in the final season. Oh, spoiler alerts, but if you haven't watched this...
I was going to say, it went off the air about, I don't know how many years ago.
18, 17?
Yeah, if you hadn't watched...
Before some of you were born.
Possibly.
So. And the reason I don't care that those characters get together, and in fact, I think it's perfectly natural that those two characters would get together. What I don't like is that their romance, it's dragged out over this 6 or 7 part series about the war with the Dominion, and so they have this extremely adolescent value to it. In fact, they even refer to it in the episodes as being adolescent. Worf calls Bashir an overgrown child and says that Ezri is confused. Ezri is confused. She wasn't prepared to be joined as a Trill, and it was something that just happened to her. But still, she's hundreds of years old.
Do you think the old man ever had problems with the Tribbles? Like troubles with them?
They have another episode
Trill,
about that.
A Trill having troubles with the Tribbles.
That doesn't even...
Okay.
Just because they all start with TR doesn't make it relevant.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, not good. Anyway, moving on. So, and Bashir is never silly before this.
I thought he was annoying on my first watch.
Well, I don't doubt that he's annoying at times. And when they decide that he's been genetically enhanced, he's allowed to be even more annoying. Although I do enjoy the other genetically enhanced characters that appear on the show in a couple of episodes. But just, why did they have to make it so silly between Ezri and Julian? And it takes forever because, again, they're trying to draw out several story arcs across, I think it's 6 or 7 episodes in that series, and it just didn't work for me. Another thing that irritated me about the series is this constant back and forth with the mirror universe. And of course, the mirror universe was first introduced in the original Star Trek series in just 1 episode. But it becomes so easy to bounce back and forth between the 2 universes. It is aggravating. It's just, suspend my belief one time this happened, but now we can just go there and come back whenever we feel like it. Just is a little too much.
It is an interesting way for them to play against type of their characters.
Right.
and all.
Well, but we do have some time travel episodes in this series that are fun. One where they go forward in time, where they've crash landed on the planet, and that's very interesting. It's very telling about how much Odo loves Kira, because he basically kills everyone he knows so that she can survive.
I like life among the solids.
But then he ends up, as much as he kills, other Odo, kills everybody he knows in order that Kira can survive. But in the end, he leaves her to go back to the Link. So that's a little out of character for me when he decides to go back to the Link.
I must rejoin my people, Kira.
But he can heal them without living with them forever.
I wear this tux so you can remember me.
Yeah, at least he does
way.
put on a tux, which is nice.
Monkey seat, you'll never get me in one of those.
But the two episodes I find a lot of fun about time travel, of course, The Trouble with Tribbles, where they go back to the original Star Trek universe, and they're interacting with Kirk and with Spock and with Scotty and with the Tribbles in that time frame. And actually, I'm really impressed with a lot of the artwork in that between the costumes and the lighting and the camera. They just do a really good job of actually making it look like they're in that space rather than added digitally. Yeah. And I just love Tribbles anyway. I find that a fun episode. And of course, this is where we see starkly, the Klingons look very different in that universe than they do in Deep Space Nine, and Worf just says we don't like to talk about it. But of course, in the reboot of the movies, they look different again. So I guess Klingons are just very flexible.
The post-traumatic stress syndrome episode that they had,
with Nog,
I thought was done really well.
Yeah, I thought that's a really good episode. Well, and the other time travel episode that I wanted to mention, again, features Nog.
And I appreciated Fontaine, the entertainer, and all that whole episode arc with him, and as a hologram.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
The other time travel episode that I enjoy is the one with Nog and his father and his uncle, Rom and Quark, where they're supposed to be going to Earth to drop Nog off to go to the academy, and they end up traveling through time, and they are the actual aliens who crash landed at not Area 51. The real aliens supposedly went there, but that crash landed at Roswell in the 1940s, and they end up being part of the whole scene. And it's really funny because it's so making fun of that era. Literally everyone is smoking 17 cigarettes at a time in that episode, the people who are contemporary to that time. So I enjoyed those time travel episodes. I enjoy the complexity of the storylines on Deep Space Nine. Again, if I were trying to pick out which of the feature characters were my favorite, I really don't have one that I'm like, oh, I really love. I'd like Jadzia, but there are things about Jadzia I don't enjoy. Of course, they bring Worf in, and Worf is just, I don't know. He's a terrible father, for one. that shows up over and over again. But you still have to like Worf, although Worf is, grumpy and wants to live by himself on a spaceship. But I don't know. So there's not a lot of redeeming there for Worf's character, the character of his character, for me. Miles is there, and I have to say I love Keiko O'Brien, but again, she's not a featured character, she's a side character.
Right, she should have been more prominent, I thought, in the series. Now, one person that kind of irritated me on the first run of watching it years ago was Kira. I don't know why.
I'm not a fan of Kira. I'm not.
I'm still not a major fan of hers.
Well, and, of course, they got very creative in writing in the actor's real life pregnancy and making her carry Keiko and Miles' child. And so that added some interesting storylines there between Keiko and Miles and Kira that are very contemporary in the way that they feel in terms of surrogacy and different ways of family planning, and then the complexities that come with that. So that was interesting. And then, of course, that continues what Star Trek has always done in addressing contemporary issues within its framework. So Keiko is definitely a favorite character. She doesn't get enough time in the series. I enjoy seeing Molly O'Brien, and then later, Yoshi, their son, which is the one that Kira carries for them. And I really love Rom and Quark. And Quark,
I like
never gets a
them better.
break.
Yeah.
And I guess Quark is kind of a featured character. He's definitely, he's in the poster for the original season 1, so I guess that does make him a featured character. But he's a questionable character too. He has his moments, but then other times he's really kind of dastardly, and he's certainly not very kind to a lot of other characters.
I certainly like Rom better than I did.
I like Rom. I really enjoyed Rom. And actually, I know somebody, I used to work with this gentleman, classically trained opera singer, and one day I walked into his studio and he had a picture of Rom on his piano, like you would have Brahms or Beethoven, and I was
That's funny.
why do you have a Ferengi on your piano? And it turns out that
Rules of acquisition, probably.
he was good friends in college with Max Grodenchik, who plays Rom, and so Max had given him an autographed photo of him as Rom. So here's this classical singer with a Ferengi on his piano, which I'm sure his students really enjoyed. And Nog, ends up becoming a really great character as well.
Right.
Just terrific in a lot of ways, not a typical Ferengi. I enjoy their mother as well. And I really like Garrick. And again, this is another character. I don't think they intended Garrick to be such a recurring character when they created him as the only Cardassian left on Deep Space Nine, but such a complex story, and again, nothing terribly lovable about him necessarily, but they are able to draw so many stories out of who he is and the mystery of his background, his relationships with other Cardassians.
Well, I want to give you two characters first. Jake, you get to see him grow up over time, and Jake's a lovable character, and to see the father-son thing you haven't really seen.
The relationship is nice.
Is good.
But even Jake, I don't think that character got developed well
enough now to switch it around.
But Nog did. Nog is his friend.
Right.
But really, I felt like Nog's character got more development than Jake's
But if you go from nice to completely nasty, we have Gul Dukat.
Well, yeah, and Gul Dukat as a pretending to be a Bajoran at the end, and
probably
getting
the
all
biggest
wrapped up with the
disgrace,
PA race, and Dukat. You just never know what Dukat's going to do next.
Right.
And what a great enemy! What a great villain he is, and what a fantastic actor, Mark Alamo. Yeah,
looks scarier as a Bajoran than he does as Dukat.
And, in terms of also bad guys, Kai Wynn Adami,
Stop calling me that. You don't have the right to call me that anymore.
She's just so slippery from the minute you meet her. And, of course, she's Kira's
nemesis.
Well, and then we also get Loxana Troy dropping in for a few episodes, who kind of helps connect to the humanity of Odo, so it's always exciting when she shows up.
Anytime Chancellor Troy stops in, I'm happy.
Counselor Troy? She wasn't there.
Did I say Chancellor Troy?
You did. Loxana Troy.
Oh my gosh, well,
Again, another character you never know.
Little one.
You never know what she's going to do. You sure don't know what she's going to say, and you sure as heck don't know what she's going to be wearing.
Anytime either of them show up, I'm happy. Especially Loxana.
Some great Klingons, especially with Jadzia, and this is a richness in the Jadzia Dax character that we really don't get in Ezri's. Ezri doesn't identify with the Klingons at all. She seems to despise Gach, for instance. She says it makes her sick, but Jadzia embraces all of that.
That's one food to taste. The other reaction of how it sounds.
But you've got Gowron, the Chancellor. You've got Martok, who ends up taking Worf into his house. And then, speaking of both Dukat and, who was that the other Cardassian on the Deep Space Nine? Garrick. Speaking of Dukat and Garrick, the character that kind of brings them together in a bridge is Dukat's half Bajoran daughter, Tora Zial, who ended up being played by several different people over the course of her time on the show before she gets murdered by Damar. But she's the only one who seems to see anything terribly lovable about Garrick. And so her death for me was tragic because we didn't get to see the continued development of that side of Garrick. I didn't, because she was played by so many actors, I really noticed it. Oftentimes when you have the characters in such makeup, you don't notice it as much, but every time they changed actors, I was like, ugh,
Ugh.
why did they change her again? You couldn't get that person to come back. And then, of course, you mentioned Vic Fontaine.
Yeah.
The hologram.
And
I just really enjoy him. He's kind of like a counselor to everybody.
He is.
He's the bartender that Quark just can't be.
You got it, kid.
Pally, he calls everybody.
Yeah.
And, so there's some fun, hollow, sweet things in there. But Vic Fontaine, who's a hologram, had an alternate person in the mirror universe, which just made no sense.
Yeah.
Right. And they even commented on it in the episode, like, what? He's a hologram, but now he's a real person.
Right.
But Vic Fontaine, that character, so well played by James Darren, and just a real addition to the show, and helps tie together everything in the final episode, which actually I think the final episode is pretty well done. It does a pretty good job.
The Dominion Wars.
Of wrapping it up.
Oh, yeah.
And saying, okay, now people are going to start.
The special effects for that time was awesome.
Well, and for people to have been together for that long, of course, they're going to start splitting up and going into different directions. And
it was very bittersweet, the ending, and how they, pulls at the heartstrings a little bit.
For sure. Of course, again, though, a weird thing, they're doing flashbacks for most of the featured characters, looking back over their memories as they're leaving Deep Space Nine. And Worf's memories include memories of Ezri, but not memories of his wife Jadzia. And I just thought that was weird.
Right.
Like when that actor left, did they just say, now we will never show her again? That was strange. An annoying but enjoyable character, though, was Zek, who is just a problem maker everywhere he goes. Of course, one of the reasons I love him as the Grand Nagus is because he's portrayed by Wallace Shawn. Yes. And, of course, Wallace Shawn is...
I want to be Grand Nagus.
He's such an integral part of The Princess Bride. Inconceivable. And so I kept waiting for Nagus to say inconceivable, but I don't think he ever did. And then I have to say, actually, my two... Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a three-way tie with Vic Fontaine, and then my two favorite characters were played by the same actor. Jeffrey Combs played both Liquidator Brunt and Wei Yun, who is the Vorta, who helps lead the Dominion. And Brunt is just so hilarious to me because he's such a kiss-up, but then he's such a bad guy. Like, he is definitely the top definition of what a Ferengi is supposed to be. He's greedy, he's malicious, he's vicious, but then when
an all-around good guy.
But then when it suits his bottom line, he's gonna kiss up and do what he has to do to get ahead. So whatever it takes to get ahead, and that's what a Ferengi is about, right?
He's a businessman.
That's what the rules of acquisition are all about. Yes. Like, you're going to do whatever you have to do. And
and all those social programs that the Nagus was going to bring. Like taking care of people.
Well, but then where I really love him is as the Vorta Wei Yun. And of course, I think Wei Yun is the first Vorta that we see, and he gets killed. And so, as much as I loved him, enjoyed his performance, in original watching, you think, okay, well, that character's dead. But then they came up with this idea that the Vorta are clones, and so we get to see Wei Yun again. And while I enjoy
great plot device,
exactly, some of the other Vorta, the fact that we get to see Wei Yun, and I think Wei Yun we see 4 different Wei Yuns over the course of what remains of the series, because he's just like in the last half of the series,
right?
He's just so, and the way that they've done his makeup and the context that they have in his eyes, and he's just so charming to be so evil.
Whatever thy request,
Whatever
founder.
you want, founder. Exactly.
I don't care about the solids. Let them all perish.
Well, and so if you can look at the performance of Jeffrey Combs as Brunt, which is a varied performance, and then as Wei-Yun, which is a completely different kind of performance, and you really wouldn't recognize, unlike, with Tora Zayal, you're looking at, oh, there's another actor playing her. Well, in the case of Jeffrey Combs playing these two different characters, they're so completely different. Of course, they have different sets of makeup and creature work done on them, but still, I think just amazing. So I would have to say, if I have to pick a favorite character, Wei-Yun, then Vic Fontaine, Brunt would be up there, Rom would be up there. But here I am listing my favorite characters, and I still have yet to list a featured character. And I don't know why that is. I just don't think any of them were as enjoyable as someone like Data or Commander Riker or...
Have you forgotten about the emergency medical hologram program?
Well, of course we get to meet
Yes.
the real Doctor in Deep Space Nine, and if he's trying to develop another one like Julian, and that's where we discover, that's the episode where we meet Julian's parents, and we discover he's been genetically enhanced. And
That was an interesting, pivotal episode there.
yeah, for sure. Well, it gave them, again, a different direction that they could go with the development of Bashir. But, like I said, like you said too, enjoyed watching it again. So I'm taking a break. Star Trek'd out. I need a little bit of my geeky history kind of things for a little while, and then I can come back and...
I'm pushing for Voyager.
Voyager's,
and I'm there with
Voyager's next. Voyager's next.
Because next to not Deep Space Nine, it's not my most favorite of the series.
What?
Next
Voyager?
Generation obviously is my favorite.
Yes.
But then next I would have to say is Voyager.
Well, and another thing that I like, since you mentioned Next Generation, of course I love the recurring character Barclay on there.
Oh, yes.
But one of the things that I do really love about Deep Space Nine, I forgot another favorite character.
Oh, go ahead.
Is that they have such a variety of aliens in there, and I guess that where they are, you would. So we see a lot more of that, even among the main characters, even among the recurring characters who are there in episode after episode after episode. A lot of different creature work done there, a lot of different development about what these different worlds and these different species would be like. Than you saw on The Next Generation. The Next Generation is very Homo sapiens only, as they say
The very
in Undiscovered
name
Country.
is racist.
But I forgot to mention
Homo sapiens.
another great character development, which was really kind of accidental, is the character of Morn. And apparently they just, in the first episode, just chose somebody to sit at the bar, and they ended up naming him Morn. And this actor ended up getting all this work over 7 years, never had a single line. Although the character of Morn is discussed incessantly by the other characters, and they talk about how he just never shuts up, and he's always telling jokes, and he's always doing crazy things, but the viewer never gets to see that. We just see him sitting at the bar all the time, and one of the most fun episodes, and again featuring Quark. So the Ferengi episodes are usually fun, but Who Mourns for Morn is a really enjoyable episode, as well as the episode where Quark has to go and rescue his mother, Moogie. So watch all the Ferengi episodes. I recommend all of them. Watch all the Vic Fontaine episodes. I recommend them. And, get a poster of Wei-Yun and put it on your wall.
And I guess a final note is, don't spend so much time on the holodeck. There's a life out there for you.
I know I'd rather have a holodeck.
I would too.
Geek Homeworld Review Preview.
We're talking now about the Tom Hanks, Emma Watson movie, The Circle, and our review of it.
We actually questioned, even as we were in the theater parking lot, whether we should go see it, because the reviews have been, let's just say, not good.
Not good, yeah. They're kind of brutal.
What is it? The most crashing disappointment of the year, the worst film since Geely. Those are just a few of the things that have been written or said about it. I think that one of the things for me is it's billed as a suspense thriller, and I found nothing suspenseful or thrilling about it at all.
I enjoyed it because of maybe the technology aspect and some of the ideas about privacy that we're dealing with these days and into the future. And this is about basically being totally connected.
You know, this is spoil filled, because when a movie's not great, we just go ahead and spoil it from the beginning.
Yeah, we just filled this full of spoilers in that case.
But I will say, it's not terrible.
It's not terrible. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was much better than the abysmal ratings and reviews it got.
But I have to say, I think a lot of the criticism is legitimate. It could have been so much more. Somebody said this film, this everything and nothing is wrong with this film, and I find on reflection that that's probably true. One of the most remarkable things, though, I have to say about the film is that Emma Watson's American accent is spot on pretty much all of the time.
Until
the very end, when
she just gives up.
No, it just sometimes when you're yelling or whatever, it gets out of control.
Maybe that was some B-roll footage.
But we've got some great secondary characters, great actors there with John Boyega.
As Ty, and actually, I kind of find his character a little bit irrelevant.
Pointless, exactly.
He was just kind of standing around in a lot of the scenes and underused.
It was almost as if he was a figment of her imagination until they finally mentioned him towards the very end of the film. It was like, does Ty really exist? Like, that would be suspenseful. Like, what if he only existed for her? But
that would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would have been very interesting. Well, and then the character...
if you were a virtual presence of something.
Played by Karen Gillan, who, of course, is Amy Pond from the Doctor Who series.
Annie.
I think they must have left some of her scenes on the cutting room floor, because all of a sudden she's
walks
great,
out of
and
a
then all of a sudden
conference.
She's a hot mess who hasn't had a shower and is wearing a dirty sweatshirt.
Working really hard, and Emma gets promoted over her, and then she disappears to Scotland.
And then she's in Scotland.
And
like,
I swear,
what happened?
I swear she had red hair in Scotland, and I don't remember her having
red hair the whole time. She always has red hair. They did not change her hair.
Underused was Patton Oswalt.
Yes, Patton Oswalt. A good job, but I kept expecting him to pass out lanyards. Hashtag Marvel.
And so then Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton did an excellent job as May Holland, who's played by Emma Watson. She's the main character. Bill Paxton as her dad did a fantastic job. Both of her parents did, but the central idea of the film,
one of his, if not his last film, because he died in February.
Oh, well, he may still have something else coming out, though. But, but I don't know. The main point of the film, though, could have been really fantastic, where you're looking at privacy and issues of connection, but somehow the character of May Holland, she starts off and she's kind of, sarcastic about this whole idea of being super connected and all that.
You're not sharing enough. You're
right. She was creeped out about that, but then all of a sudden
she totally embraces it.
Yeah,
because they're helping her father.
Well, they're helping her dad,
MS.
and then she has the near-death experience out on San Francisco Bay. But it just still seemed like it came out of left field that all of a sudden she's all on board. And then the end of the film...
It feels like something in the middle was cut out or something, and it affected the character of Annie, played by Karen Gillan. And then... it also affected the entire movie. I just feel like they actually cut out a.
I was like, okay, now it's time
middle portion of the movie.
Now it's time to move on. Yeah, exactly. It's like
we're bored. We had to figure this out.
We don't need these scenes. We didn't like the colors.
But
they
Tom
were wearing.
Hanks, when he was talking about his son, that's just the brilliance of Tom Hanks. He can take a mediocre script and turn at least moments of it into something
he didn't
so very
write that,
professional.
though.
I know he didn't, but his delivery and the camera focusing on him, I got the effect there. I'm almost teared up, almost choked up a little bit, but not. I didn't, but almost. I felt like I could feel the emotion of why.
Well, there were too many speeches, though. Yeah, that was a great speech,
And
but it was like, but
maybe-
May gave speeches, and he
he's
gave
kind
speeches.
of the Steve Jobs.
Like literally, yes, he's the Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
But it's literally too many speeches in front of big audiences and lots of missed opportunities. Like in the first scene where she sees Tom Hanks and he's giving his speech about these new little cameras that look like marbles that you can just stick anywhere. He tosses one and she catches it. We never see that camera again. And like when Annie takes her into the secret room, I expected she was going to stick that camera in there and pay attention to what was going on. Like whatever happened to that camera? What was the point of her catching the camera?
Yeah.
I guess because later on she would be the one who did the permanent full-time
One thing I
see everything,
did
including
learn-
my parents having sex on the
that
internet.
changes parents' mind about a lot of things. But one thing I did learn
Well,
about
it didn't
this...
change their mind because they were kind of against it to begin with.
Yeah, but the thing that changed my mind is that you only get 3 minutes in this timeline here to go to the bathroom. If you're having issues and you have to be in the loo, as it were,
Good Lord, this is what you're worried about.
longer than 3 minutes.
I think this film had more problems than that.
Some of them went down the toilet. Some of the good ideas.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. Well, just, and critics are saying there were just so many opportunities that they could have done better in terms of character development, plot development, and story in general. It does feel a little bit just crafted together like, okay, now it's time for this to happen. Now it's time for that to happen.
I tried to really come at it from the all connected technology and what that means for privacy issues. And when she went full blast into it, I wasn't disturbed by the visuals of all the emails popping
No,
up.
I really liked the idea
I
of all
thought
those comments that they
visually
called zings popping up were really good. And if
made
you could
a lot
read
of
them, they
sense.
went very quickly. But
some of them were funny,
some of
and
them
some
were
of
funny.
them
Some of them were
critical.
relevant
Yeah.
to the conversation. Some of them were just, the trolls
like the-
online just saying stupid stuff.
Exactly.
So that was very real.
And
But as an introvert, man, I was horrified when the people came up and said she wasn't socializing enough and everything you do should be connected. I was
I
like,
looked at you
I
in the
wanted to
theater.
turn my phone off permanently at that moment, like literally just shut it down and never turn it back on again. Because I'm like, if this is the path we're going down, and that's the thing, it's like it wasn't
think
thriller. There wasn't
Right.
really anything inherently
I
dangerous.
think it introduced a lot, but it never really fleshed a lot.
Right,
of it
like
out.
it had the idea that they were going after that Washington senator or whatever she was, and then you never heard anything more about it. But that was apparently one of the problems Annie was having. I've
go
not read the book.
transparent.
Maybe exactly. Maybe there's more in the book.
Yeah, the book may be better. I don't know.
I don't know. Seeing the film doesn't make me want to read the book though. So
I don't know. I kind of feel differently. I mean, I'm interested in this, and I think I would probably be the person to volunteer to go, totally transparent like
well,
that.
I guess you're moving out.
I know, but then after a while, it would drive me a little crazy. I'm like, okay, I want to cut the cameras off.
I'm sure you would like to have millions of followers though.
I would love to have millions of followers.
Well, and the end of the film was not where I expected it to go.
Yeah, I didn't expect her to turn
Which
the
is
tables on them.
fine, except for I
It
didn't
works good.
understand. No, I didn't understand the choice that she made.
Even after her friend got killed, I really felt she was going to say, I'm done with this. I'm done with the cameras. But then she eventually gets
Well,
up
she
off
totally
the couch.
embraces it.
And then she embraces it and says, okay, this is total democracy. This
But
is
I'm
total
going to control
transparency.
it, which she can't.
Right,
Which, please don't make the circle too even circlier.
Circle within a square. It'll be the sequel. So-
go see it if you want to. It's enjoyable. Don't think about it too much.
We had it on a gift card, so we kind of saved money, even though the concession still killed us.
I'm telling you though, I guess it was a suspense film after all because it's all I dreamt about last night.
Yeah, you literally dreamt about it.
I did not sleep very well because I was worried about
How did that dream go? Everyone wants to know.
not well, and I'm
Not
not
well.
going to tell you. You're going to have to figure out how Tom Hanks going to have to figure out how to get a camera.
So you already
in my
made a
brain.
sequel in your brain.
Well, I also combined that with a documentary I've been watching called Great African Civilizations with
Interesting. Fascinating.
Henry Louis Gates Jr. So it was kind of interesting, social media in Africa in my dreams.
well, could do a
Yeah,
lot.
you put it in my brain, and
the
it will come out as a bad movie in
possibilities
my.
of this technology and curing all diseases, of course, that's what pulls you in, and the idea of it. But when she turns it around on their secret bank accounts and their secret bank accounts, and Tom Hanks says we're bleeped,
Probably the best line of the film.
Yeah.
I love Patton Oswalt running off the stage with his camera covered.
covers his camera and just kind of goes off stage. And
Yeah, you
he's
gotta
like-
love Patton Oswalt.
And
Meanwhile, John Boyega is a shadow in the back of the room.
yeah, he
like,
just kind
whatever.
of lurks in the dark, and he takes her in the secret dungeon and shows her.
I love
where all
how
the data
both
farms are
he
gonna be.
and Annie take her secret places as if they don't know there's nothing secret. They can't do anything secret.
Right.
He's like, "Don't tell anybody I brought you here."
And I don't know. I don't know if she does or doesn't.
Just crazy. I'm sure they
So-
know about his wine hidden in the
Just
bush.
like Patton Oswalt running off the stage, covering your camera, I think it's time for us to go. So go see The Circle.
Or don't.
Or don't. I don't know.
Make sure you got plenty of snacks to get you through.
And we're always watching. I don't know. That's all I got. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld podcast with your host, SavageTechman. You can find us on Libsyn, Google+, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, listen to us on iTunes, see us on YouTube, be part of our Mixler chats. Thank you. See you again on the Geek Homeworld podcast.